So this is like a book review. I'm talking about Alien Interview. I don't remember the author's name, but here's the deal with that. It's being presented by the editor. Okay, and the preface or editor's note is that he's not the author. The author is somebody who experienced what happens in the book, wrote it all down, recounted it many years later, and this manuscript was sent to the editor. And then the editor published it posthumously because the author, the actual author, was in the midst of dying and she knew it. So she would only give out the history of this, knowing that she's passing on and saying, the heck with the earth, I've had enough, but this is my great experience that I kept a secret for so many years. This book came out a few years ago, and it's been 50 to 60 years since the initial incidents, which all took place in about the year 1947, the month of July. And it proceeded to go on for several months. But what happens is this author was an employee of the military. I'm not going to say what branch, but basically Army. And they were then retired, like a witness protection kind of thing. Like they just disappeared and relocated, given a new identity. And then they continued to have the experiences of 1947. You see, this is really the meat of the plot here. I'm going to give it to you straight. These beings that were on the craft, which crashed, there was 3, sometimes said there's 5, but let's just go with the idea that there were 3 of them. If there were 3 of them, 1 of them survived. So 2 were dying, mangled, very badly injured when they were first encountered, or just completely destroyed, and the other one was functional. And there's the key word. These are not biological entities, especially not the one that was found, and this is why it survived. This is a doll body, she calls it in the book. Doll body. So it's totally synthetic. It's synthesized. It's android. It is a tool which is being used by the actual life, the actual being. The way this doll body gets animated is through mind control. It's telepathic, and it can go as far as you want it to go. The distance can be hundreds and thousands and I don't know how many light years. Maybe there's no limit. So the life form itself is so far away in another very advanced part of the universe, in some center of a galaxy, and that the being is ancient, eternal, in fact, and they call themselves is-bees. And they manipulate these doll bodies to fly their spaceships, and these crafts come around and they're watching the Earth. And sometimes they run into a little bit of problems because, as a remote control type of droid drone contraption, it can get into a lightning storm. The Earth is unstable, lots of electric out there and interchanges and winds and energy fields. So that's how the thing came down and happened to land at a rancher's field just north of Roswell, New Mexico, actually closer to the town of Corona, if you know that part of the country, which you probably don't, but I do. I've been out there, and I don't necessarily believe it just because I've been there, because there's nothing there. Unless you're just a total psychic, you would not actually believe anything unless you perceive it when you're there. But I'm just going on facts, logic, science, analyzing the information, if it's true or not. Okay. This is not what I've analyzed. This is just a basic component of the plot. Take it or leave it. Believe it or not. Ripley's Believe It or Not. In fact, that's quoted in the book by the editor. He's saying, you know, and his other quote is this: what's true for you is true for you. Someone said that they came from a Scientology axiom. I don't know that. I don't know that this guy is totally connected in with Scientology. And who's the founder, the author? L. Ron Hubbard. I don't know that. It doesn't make any difference. I can analyze this information on its own merit and put it within my scheme of cosmology, what I know, what I believe. It's all what you believe, even if you're using science. And this is what I don't... This is not an anti-science video. This is just about the book. So, this is part one. Major component that fits within it, and then how this life form, this being out of body from somewhere else, is able to communicate with the author, the original author of the book that the editor is putting out there. How this communication takes place from this being to a human being, why, what purposes, all that I'm going to give you if you're interested, but this is just part one, and tell me whether you can believe it or not.